Hello, my name is Gary White. Welcome to the Sunday morning service for Victorville United Methodist Church and the First United Methodist Mission of Barstow. We're glad that you could spend some time with us. We pray that you are well and would like to encourage you to share this video with anyone who may not have it easily accessible. You can find all of our videos on our Facebook page, United Methodist Church of Victorville, or on our YouTube channel, Victorville United Methodist. You can also find our service in audio form by calling 760-245-2529. God bless you.
I am just using my rotary cutter to cut some new fabric that I bought. It's all washed and ready to go, except that sometimes when you do that, the edges of the fabric start to fray a little and they have this like fringe on the edge. I need to trim it in order to start my sewing project. But it was pretty funny. As I was cutting the edge, it reminded me of this week's Bible story. They are actually talking about the edge or the fringe of Jesus's garments, his clothes, his cloak, and that people begged to touch it so that they too could be healed. You see, the disciples and Jesus were busy teaching and healing in the region, and people got to know about him and would run if they saw him so they could be close to him and be healed. Well, here, let me read you this week's story, and then we can talk a little bit more about the fringe and edge of things and running to Jesus. This week's lesson is from Mark chapter 6, verses 30 through 34 and 53 through 56. The apostles gathered around Jesus and reported to him all they had done and taught. Then, because so many people were coming and going that they did not even have a chance to eat, he said to them, "Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest." So they went away by themselves in a boat to a solitary place. But many who saw them leaving recognized them and ran on foot from all the towns and got there ahead of them. When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. So he began teaching them many things. When they had crossed over, they landed at Gennesaret and anchored there. As soon as they got out of the boat, people recognized Jesus. They ran throughout the whole region and carried the sick on mats to wherever they heard he was. And wherever he went, into villages, towns, or the countryside, they placed the sick in the marketplaces. They begged him to let them touch even the edge of his cloak, and all who touched him were healed. Well, that's an amazing story. Once again, people reaching out to Jesus with faith and belief that he would heal them. So what does that mean for me this week? Well, I'm going to finish trimming the edge on my fabric and get started on the sewing project. But I also want to spend some time being like those people that lived and were able to see and hear Jesus and the disciples teach. I want to run to Jesus when I need healing or when I need help. Now that may seem tricky since Jesus is not walking on this earth. We know he's ascended into heaven and is seated at the right hand of the Father. But I can come to Jesus. I can run to Jesus in prayer and in study. I can read his words and I can spend time thinking about him and talking to him. And I know that he will help me with maybe some of the problems or illnesses that I have too. Well, I hope you have a great week running to Jesus with the things that are on your heart.
You know, it's not easy to have a calming presence when so much is changing and shifting in our lives. And for me, it really gets me down when I cannot find some way to be at peace in my life. I think if we want to have peace in our life, we have to work at it. And intentionally create that time and place of peace. Maybe some of you can relate to that. You want to feel at peace, but the situation you are in and the people you are around are full of stress and worry. When I grew up, I had a friend who had a cabin on the lake. And she would invite me to spend the weekends with them, and we would have fun playing in the water. She taught me how to water ski, and we would sit on their dock at night and sing songs and watch the moon and stars reflect on the water. Oh, how these are beautiful memories that still my soul. Last week, I was talking to one of our members who has gone through a lot the last month and is now in a care center healing. He was thinking of things to make conversation about, and we got around to talking about when he grew up and how his family had a cabin on a lake out in Tennessee. And he had beautiful memories as a child from those times on the lake. It even brought tears to his eyes as he told me, and I knew why. He had finally reached a moment of peace after he had been trying to hold himself together through the worst time he had in ages. Going through so much frenzy in our lives can catch up with us. And when we have a chance to stop and be at peace and share the simple joys of life, we are refreshed. We are ready to go for another haul and get back into order. People can get themselves so worked up that they find problems everywhere, even where there are none. But you know what they say? When we look for problems, that is what we will find. When we look for solutions, then that is what we will find. Solutions. People of peace are the ones who find solutions, even when we find ourselves in the middle of problems. I started wondering, how do we learn to live with a healing touch to life? Is it possible to be like the person where everything you touch turns to gold idea, but instead everything you touch gives someone peace? Can we train ourselves to be like that? Have you ever known people that by just being in their presence, you feel calm? Have you ever found yourself wondering what you have to do to have more tranquility in your life? Well, maybe we have to do what Jesus did. Live on the lake and make friends with fishing families, huh? Well, today's Bible story begins at the end of one and jumps around a couple others, all to help us see this important point about peace and kindness and taking time to refresh. So the disciples returned from their adventure going out together to the towns around the lake, but they were back and excited to meet with Jesus, to tell him all they had done and what they had taught the people, who they stayed with. Remember that Jesus sent them out in twos, and they were asked to not take much, but stay with people of peace, and to not stay with people who did not receive them with kindness, and to move on if that was the case. He sent them out to teach and to heal and to cast out demons and help people learn about the good news that God loved them. So when the disciples came back, they too got some quality time with Jesus to go over the highlights of their adventures and all the people that they met and had I can just imagine the conversations. They had that night together, time to really share and to be able to get away from the hustle and bustle of the day. There were so many people coming and going that Jesus and his disciples didn't even have time to eat that day. So in this case, what does a loving and caring rabbi say to his disciples? But, hey, let's go off by ourselves to where we can be alone and rest a while. So they started out in a boat by themselves to go to a place where they could be at peace and rest and talk about their trip. Jesus knew the importance of taking time like this, and we cannot forget the value in doing the same. My husband traveled a lot when I was raising our children, and when he got home, we got to sit together around the table and hear stories about where he went and who he met and what it was like in the different countries he went to, and we learned a whole lot. If we do like Jesus shows us here in this passage, we take time for each other. We respect the time to listen and learn from each other. We know that our work and people and needs are there, but we have to care for ourselves with this important time that we take to refresh. We have to reach out for the healing intentionally. We have to touch the one whose power is to heal us in all ways possible. Take time to receive the healing. Listen to music. Go for a walk with a friend. Play ping pong together. Set up the croquet game and take a break from the hustle and bustle to water the plants. Let God speak to you and tell God all that's in your heart. Build up that loving kindness in your relationships. If you do not take time to make time wonderful, then what are you doing but wasting God's beautiful gift of time meant for us to live life to the fullest? It is so sad to see how we can too easily ruin our relationships and waste each other's time with thoughtless, unkind acts and words. I have asked different people what they have done to cope during the pandemic. And some have stated that they started praying together and reading the Bible together every morning, and that they started to use more meditation practices and calming techniques to deal with life. That they went for a ride in the car each day and prayed to God out loud, that they would dance on their patio and sing to God, or that they would find really good inspirational movies to watch. We are so gifted at coming up with many ways to cause problems. So why not put the good that God gives us to good use? Finding ways to do good every day and every way we can. It will make a world of difference. Jesus taught and healed and was there for people, full of compassion and empathy for what the people were going through. He said that they looked like lost sheep, and he wanted to be their shepherd and protect them and help them and show them how to live at peace. There is so much wisdom in stopping and listening and receiving and not pushing our agenda on others. In this passage, do you realize that Jesus heals many people, but it is because they reach out and touch him? He is not the one who initiates the healing. He is the one they touch, and they receive the healing because they took the time, made the trip, and did the act of reaching out to touch him, knowing they would be made well because of their faith. Jesus is not saying, hey, let me heal you. No, he is letting his power of healing go out to those who have faith that by getting close to him, they will find healing when they encounter him and touch him. They have to make the move. It is not Jesus' responsibility to go and heal. He is the one who has the power to heal, but the faith to be healed is in the hand of the one who reaches for Jesus. Imagine what it was like to get in a boat with Jesus and float on the water and come to a beach where they got out and made a fire and talked all night. Or maybe they just floated on the water in the boat under the stars and talked and sang and shared their new ideas and their hopes and dreams for the future. When I was a youth, I went to our United Methodist camp every summer, and our campsite was on a lake. And I remember the walks that we would take at night along the shore, times to talk and sort out our beliefs and dreams for the future. Those were times when I realized that I wanted to be a pastor. We need those times to help us find balance and direction. Sometimes it is sitting around a fire that can bring that calm that we long for. Do peace and happiness come to us because we are blessed and lucky, or do we have to work at it and plan for it and make it happen? That's a good question. And there is a song that I like that reminds me of this question as an answer. And it says that you'll never be happy until you try. Are you born with peace of mind, or do you have to make it happen like the song says? I think it is our responsibility to work at peace and happiness all the time. It is our God-given responsibility. With good reason, Jesus had to try to find ways to accomplish peace giving. He was a peace giver, a healer, a teacher of life's best practices, a listener, and a powerful force of good. Just think about the short time he had to do what he did, and during the time he lived. It was a time with a high level of religious and political corruption, and the thousands of people living in poverty, subject to Roman rulers, and total disrespect for the lives of the common people. So it makes sense that Jesus chose to hang around fishing families and lead his ministry in the water and on the shores and hills around the lake. He took many a hop in the boat and get back on the lake to chill. Time outs were so important for Jesus. Alone time with his friends. We need that too. We deserve it to be a truly healthy, faithful people. So let's do it. Let's find ways to be there for each other, to have fun and be a people of peace, even with all we have to do and all the worries we have. Remember, how a healing touch will make you whole. Amen.
Jesus is all the world to me, my life, my joy, my all. He is my strength from day to day. Without Him I would fall. When I am sad, to Him I go. No other one can cheer me so. When I am sad, He makes me glad. He is my friend. Jesus is all the world to me. I want no better friend. I trust Him now, I'll trust Him when life's fleeting days shall end. Beautiful life with such a friend. Beautiful life that has no end. Eternal life, eternal joy. He's my friend.
Thank you for being with us throughout this service. We hope that you are able to find it inspiring. If you would like to make a donation, you can mail it to the church address, 15150 La Paz Drive, Victorville, California, 92395, or to 404 East Mountain View Street, Barstow, California, 92311. You can also make an online donation through our church website, churchonlapaz.com or vvumc.org. Remember, you can also listen to our service by calling 760-245-2529. We thank you for any help that you can provide, as we are trying our best to do what we can in these challenging times. Until next time, God bless you.